Our sense of smell is unique in its ability to catalog scents that will impact and even shape our lives for decades. While we may use sight and sound as our primary senses for navigating the world, smell is where our most powerful emotional associations originate. In this podcast, we'll explore all things to do with our sense of smell, from examining the science of how we perceive it, to reviewing fragrant products, to thinking through ways smells can be harnessed to change our lives. I'm your captain, Colby Putnam.
I'm Sarah, his first mate.
I'm PJ, the deputy captain.
So climb aboard and join us for an olfactory odyssey. For this first episode, it's our pilot episode. We're just getting this thing started. We're mostly new podcasters, at least Sarah and I are. PJ, you have a little bit of experience, right?
Just a little bit. Done it a few times.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We will be happy to use your expertise, right? That's good. So why don't we start out this Olfactory Odyssey by talking a little bit about what our hopes are for the listener and what we hope to achieve in the podcast. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Great. So at least from my perspective, the hope is that we can both explore fragrances and how they impact us, but also to break down how to harness that power for our viewers, for our listeners, so that they too can navigate the world of senses, understand it a little bit better, and maybe use it to their advantage.
Definitely. First mate?
That was thrown over here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, just what are you hoping to get out of the podcast?
Oh, I see. Wow, that is a great question. I think I am hoping to understand the fascination behind scents. I think for me it used to be, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. One more time. Bring it back. You threw it at me. I told you. Start over.
So for you, Sarah, you wouldn't necessarily say that you are particularly fascinated with scent. You're really kind of interested in how that became something for me, and you're kind of almost you're a participant, but you're as much of an observer as anything, yeah? Or would you say something different?
I think I would say something different. I think for me, my fascination isn't in the emotional response. I think my fascination is what scents can trigger. I think it's more on the, I guess, science and of how scents can trigger memory and how they can impact even mood. Yeah. I think that's kind of where my brain is at.
That's great.
Great. I was going to say something along those lines as well.
Great. All right. That's great, PJ. All right. So I wonder if it would be helpful to talk about, I don't know, what is important about scent to us. So I'm kind of interested in sharing a little bit about how I became fascinated with scents, and I wonder if that would be helpful for you too as well, because we're coming from slightly different places that we're all co-hosting together, but it might be helpful for our audience to hear, well, this is how this got started and why we've decided to take this on as a project of ours. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great.
Cool. PJ, do you want to start?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Great.
I'll say I've been fascinated with scents since a very early age. I remember, being at my grandmother's house and waking up and smelling coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? And thinking about those cozy moments and those great memories of joy with family. Down to, I remember one of the first colognes my mother bought me, which was okay.
It was okay.
It's old school, Drakkar Noor.
Oh, yeah.
That's old school.
I know that stuff.
So, yeah. So I think about those moments and just even how I felt putting it on when it came to manhood and feeling more masculine and that, I smelled good and I felt good. So, I just had some great moments of how scents really played a role in different experiences, whether it was with family or whether it was my own self-confidence, all those different things.
Yeah. Thanks for that, PJ. That's good.
I think for me, PJ had a great, beautiful introduction to smells. I think for me, I think food was definitely one of the first things that I've noticed, but I think what got me into scents in general was BO. I think,
comes from the negative side.
Yeah, right. I think what is the BO age? I feel like between 8 and 13 when you start going into class, and then when it gets hot, you start smelling everyone's armpits. I think that's when I started becoming more aware of scent and more aware of being nervous around how I smelled. And so I think for me, fascination with it came more from the anxiety standpoint.
Wow.
Or it's the anxiety side of wanting to smell good or having this obsessive need to always smell good.
Yeah.
And so that's where it really started. Like, I don't know how many girls, probably some girls here will relate to the Victoria's Secret sprays or the Bath and Body, like dragging our moms to the mall and be like, please get me this. And we have the fruity I think vanilla got in more when I was in high school, but more when I was younger, it was like definitely like the fruity, citrusy smells and then spraying way too many sprays.
Yep.
And just walking past, like, I needed you to smell me, like, and I needed to smell good. I think that's kind of where it came from for me.
Those middle school days of the combination of total BO stench with way too much product being utilized.
And Axe. Axe
Yes,
was a big
Axe,
thing.
there it
Axe
is.
body spray.
Yeah.
That was a life
Or
changer.
Yeah.
yes, it was too much. You guys really went off on Axe. Remember,
Yeah.
you walk past the boys' bathroom and you just cringe.
Yep.
It was just so potent, so strong.
Yeah.
It was the commercials that did it for us.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it really did.
That's right. They were compelling. They were compelling.
And when you smelled the Axe, you thought of the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So again, powerful memory,
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Axe body spray and Victoria's Secret spray. This
Yeah.
is not an ad.
Right? So what's interesting for me is that I think my story with scents starts in a pretty similar place, at least in terms of timeline, right? So I would say for me, I started to really recognize its power in, middle school maybe, but certainly high school, when I would be in class and I would smell the girl next to me with her perfume, and I'd be like, oh, wow, and just kind of melt in my seat and be like, oh, that smells really good. And my head would go fuzzy, and then I'd snap out of it later and go, well, geez, I need to get that power harnessed. I need to be able to use this for my own benefit so I can have that effect on other people, because that's the real deal. And then, fast forward for a little while, and there was this moment in, I don't know, this was a couple years after college. I'm headed up north to a retreat with a couple friends. I'm sitting in the backseat of a car, not feeling very good. My nose is stuffed up. And my friend Sam is sitting next to me, and I'm like, Sam, I know that you have tissues in your backpack. Can I grab a tissue? And he goes, yeah, here you go. So I snag the little tissue pack, and I blow my nose. And as I finish with that, I'm like, all right, Sam, either you have some really cool mint-infused tissues, or you have Trident gum in your backpack. And he looks into his backpack and he's like, well, I don't think that they're infused with mint. Like, that's a new idea. Maybe they should. Kleenex, take note. But he reaches into his backpack and he pulls out a pack of Trident gum. And I was like, oh, there it is. I knew what the smell was. And he's like, no way. How did you do that? That's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, I can identify scents. And he goes, okay, smell my hair. Tell me what I used this morning for shampoo. And so I did, and I gave him a sniff, and I was like, oh, that's Dove Men Plus Care. And he lost his mind. Because I was right on. That was the right answer. He couldn't believe it. And so it just became this thing that my friends knew, that I could smell stuff and tell you what it was. So I paid a little bit more attention to it, started to think about it. And I think my fascination started there, and then probably increased when Sarah, who is my wife, by the way, got me a gift a few years ago of Dr. Squatch soap.
I started this. I don't
She
know whether or
did.
not to be happy about it, or we have a special shelf having all of his Dr. Squatch.
That's
and
right.
he has me sniff these bars of soap before nighttime. And if I don't want to participate, he gets sad.
That's right. That is absolutely true.
Therefore, I sniff his soap. But at least, they smell great.
That's
Aromatherapy,
aromatherapy, baby.
I guess. But, hey, we're supportive here.
That's right.
Oopsies. We're supportive here, and I will sniff bars of soap before bedtime.
I appreciate that.
I got you, babe.
appreciate that. She knew. She knows me. She knew that I liked the scents. We tried it out, even though it's, it's more expensive than your average bar of soap, but it's all natural. And, 2 bars of soap turned into, I don't know, what do you think, like 80 now?
80.
Yeah,
probably
something
more.
like that. It's a pretty substantial box, plus the deodorants and whatnot.
We call it self-care.
We call it
Self-care.
self-care. We call it self-care. But, stay tuned, listeners and viewers, because we will be doing some product reviews, and we'll actually be starting with the brand new drop of the Dr. Squatch Halloween bundle. They just came out with 2 new bricks, and so over...
with fascinating names.
with fascinating names. So,
Wow.
stay tuned. We'll be doing some product reviews of those, so if you're interested, you can check those out. But, we'll do that sometime in the future.
Back to our regularly scheduled.
Yeah, back to our program. Okay, so I guess another question that I would like to ask you, just so we can round out who we are and what we're talking about, is what is your favorite scent? We're just beginning this odyssey, so there are many to be discovered, but in your travels thus far, what's your favorite scent? I'm curious to hear.
Listen, I can't. This is where I'm quite indecisive. I don't know if I have a favorite anything. Anything that says favorite something followed by whatever, I just go into a panic because I cannot decide. So I always like to give 3 because I cannot decide on one. So I will give 3 scents that I enjoy. Well, I enjoy anything citrusy. So anything limey or lemon or orange. I really enjoy any type of citrus smells. I think something else I really enjoy are kind of sweeter, vanilla, pumpkin-esque smells. I think that, I don't know, to me it just reminds me of warmth. And I think my third one would be kind of like a campfire smell.
Yeah.
But it's a very specific campfire smell, not all of them. It has to be, I don't even know the right word to say, but it can't smell chemical leaks. I think often, depending on the wood that you use, the burning smell isn't that like camping, foresty, deep smell. I'm not great at describing smells, but I don't like that chemically kind of burnt, like acrid or sharp smell.
Yeah.
It's more of like a fuller, smokier smell that I quite enjoy, and I think those would be my top 3 right now because I can't make a decision.
That's
so
great.
3 it is.
That's great.
Man. I mean, Sarah, you said some great things already, though. I mean, that's some future segments maybe on different types of woods.
Yes.
And how they burn, and that's
Yes.
a whole other story right there.
Applewood
on a
bacon,
tangent.
cherrywood bacon. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. For me, I think about 2, well, maybe 3 things as well, right? I think about, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, my mom was really big on colognes, right? For me, and picking different things out.
Love that.
So even now, I fell in love with like just some of the cool scents when it comes to colognes. So I remember early on, like Acqua di Gio, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Acqua di Gio, yeah.
There we go. So those cool scents I was introduced to early on. But right now, I'll just say there's a scent that I love. It is Chanel men's.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Blue de Chanel?
Yeah, the blue.
That's
de
a
Chanel.
high test one, man. Yeah, I like
so
that.
I like the cool scents, and then I also think about 2 other things. I think about apple cinnamon. I just love like apple cinnamon candles.
Apple cinnamon.
It's just a warm, especially around Christmas time. It's like a warm home feel.
Yeah.
100%.
And then I like just like these air fresheners. Just like a linen scent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just, when you're cleaning the house and you spray it, it makes the house just seem so airy and light. So those are my 3 that I just enjoy.
So I think what's really interesting as you both share this is you're talking about the scents themselves as being pleasant, but you're also talking about the emotions and the memories that they evoke, right? So it's not just that, oh, I like this linen smell for the sake of the linen smell, but because this is the homey feel that I remember because of that. This is what is the soundtrack, or I guess the nose track, for lack of a better, the olfactory track to,
Bam.
right, to my life in this place. So that's really interesting. And it informs actually my answer, which is I don't like the question that I asked you. It was a necessary question to ask, what's your favorite scent? But I actually don't like it for the reasons that you just stated. How can you possibly come with one particular scent that is your top of all tops when... How can you say, well, this is my favorite emotion or this is my favorite time of life? There are ups and downs and ebbs and flows to life that happen. And I think that the same can and should be true for our scent profiles as well. Definitely. So, you know, I love that cinnamony, apple cinnamony sort of scent. I love the pumpkin and vanilla. Those 2 are both very fall oriented right now. We are recording this in October, so it makes sense that those are present to our minds, right?
Yes.
Wintertime, maybe some peppermint comes into the play, maybe a little bit of a tobacco, if you think about that sort of thing, keeping warm by the fire, that smoke comes back in. But yeah, it's really hard to pick just one scent because there are so many different associations that they come with. That, you know, I'm also going to say, well, I don't want to answer that question. I'm not going to say that I have a favorite scent. I'm going to, perhaps as we go through our odyssey together, we can say, oh, I really like this one for these reasons, or I really don't like these for these reasons. But for now, I think I'm gonna withhold answering that directly.
My initial feeling for that is that's crazy that you made us answer that. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious to see what you like in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I'm curious to hear what our viewers and listeners are going to say too. So as you're listening to this, please feel free to write in, comment what your favorite scent is, or if you're like us and it's really hard to determine what your favorite scent is, tell us maybe some that stick out to you and why. That'd be great.
That's good,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I always like to echo us, Sarah's sentiments.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe, you sound like a scent politician. You didn't answer the question. So, hopefully going forward, we get the truth. We want
Yes.
nothing but the
But
truth.
the truth, I agree.
You can't handle the truth.
I agree. Sat there, looked us both in the eye. Meanwhile, he had in the back of his head, like, yeah, I got something clever to say.
Yep.
As his wife, we're having words about this later, but it's okay.
That's good. Well, hey, feel free to ask questions that you have really as a talking point too, because I think that'll be fun to discover the different elements to these questions. Maybe we have assumptions about scents and the way that they impact us that need to be uncovered and dealt with. So these are good questions to be asking.
Definitely.
Definitely. Well,
Yeah.
I think something that's coming to mind is, obviously we're not going to dive into every topic today because this is our first podcast, but
Right.
kind of thinking about maybe, if the viewers can comment different topics or that they would like us to cover. Maybe,
Yes.
I know we have some ideas for what to talk about in the future, but, I know the first thing that comes up for me is like the smell of culture. I think when PJ was
Yes.
talking about, his past of remembering his mom's first cologne, giving him his first cologne, I think about, the first thing that pops into mind is like when it gets cold or even when it's hot, which I don't understand why. There's always soup, right? I smell
Yep.
soup in my house, which I get the cold and the rainy. But when it's like 85 degrees out, there's memes on this, and it's true, okay? For Latina mothers, this is true that they will make soup at like 90-degree weather, and you got to eat it because there's nothing else. And I dare you to say no to her, okay? But, I feel like I'm curious to hear what are some things that maybe we can preview so our viewers can kind of look forward to what's to come.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So I will answer this next question that I have.
Sense politician.
Yeah,
Here we go.
I'm gonna answer this one directly. I'm gonna answer this one directly, even though it's the reverse side of the first question I asked. Right? Question one: what's your favorite scent? Now I'm gonna ask, what's your least favorite scent? Another way to phrase that is, what is the scent that evokes the most negative thought for you or negative experience? And I will answer this one for you, or at least I'll answer it more directly. For me. Yep, Sarah knows exactly where I'm going with this. For me, it is a floral arrangement. That is my least favorite scent. And Sarah knows why. Here's why. I grew up the only time smelling big bouquets of flowers being at funerals, of which I've been to many, right? And most of them were for closer family members, right? Aunts and uncles, grandfather, grandmother, right? That sort of thing. And so whenever I would go to a big funeral and have these big floral arrangements there, it would be associated with someone that I love, not alive, in front of me, right? Saying goodbye for the last time, right? And so for me, anytime I'm walking by a florist or see something like that, there are a few exceptions, like roses, for example, have a different association. But I think it's tulips in particular that have a stronger, pungent scent that were often part of those bouquets.
Surprised it's not lilies.
Maybe it's lilies.
I
Maybe
think
it's
it's
lilies.
lilies.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think you're
lilies
right.
are strong.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
then it's lilies. It's lilies. Thank you for that. Yeah, if I smell lilies, I'm just like, oh, I feel terrible now. Like somebody must have died. And of course, that's not true. That's not always what's happening around those scents. But for me, I don't like that because that's what it reminds me of. So it's one of those funny things where other people may say, oh, this smells nice. I like this. Well, is that because the scent is nice, or is that because the memory surrounding it is nice, and vice versa? So I have more thoughts on that, but I'll leave that question for you too now.
I'm going to pass it over to the deputy over there.
Man, so, I thought about two things specifically. And, one deals also with the memory. One deals just with the scent, I believe. The first one, this may sound crazy, but I don't like the smell of like tuna when you open that can. But the crazy thing is I like tuna.
Yep.
But I won't make it. I don't make it.
That's so funny.
But I love tuna. I mean, like, I'll do a tuna sandwich, but that, I don't know, when that can opens up, I'm like, this is just not for me. So yeah, I personally never make tuna at home.
So what makes it palatable after it's been opened for you?
I don't know. It tastes good.
It tastes good.
That's crazy.
That's so interesting.
I know but it's something about that. I don't know if it's just it's just the first opening up.
Yeah.
But I know you mix it up with different things and
It's pungent.
yeah. When
Yeah.
you mix it up, it just calms down some, and I'm good. And then the other thing I would say is, and this may be a little bit more cultural.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, have you all ever heard of chitlins?
I've heard of it. I couldn't
I
tell you
have
what it is.
not.
Oh my gosh, chitlins is a traditionally Southern food.
Yeah.
Which smells and tastes terrible in my opinion. And I'll just say, one time at Thanksgiving, I had an aunt that spilt chitlin juice
Oh no.
Oh.
into the mac and cheese.
Oh no
Oh,
no.
no.
Oh my
No.
gosh, it was, and into the turkey gravy. It
Oh.
was
No.
the worst ever. And chitlins, again, if folks have ever tasted it, again, you may have a different taste buds, and we all have different things.
Mhm,
This is very
mhm.
subjective.
Mhm.
But as for me in my house, chitlins are not my favorite, and I just don't like the smell of them.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and thanks for that, PJ. I appreciate that. That's really interesting.
Once again, I can't come to a decision. This is not going to be new. This is going to be every episode, so I apologize. See, I'm very sensitive to smells, so I think I have this large list in my head of the things that I dislike, and it's extensive.
Yeah.
Because I'm so sensitive, like I have sometimes some sensory issues, and I think smell is a large part of my sensitivity, and so for me, anything that doesn't smell right to me, and that honestly sometimes it can be even like weird things. Like some people like vinegar. I cannot stand the smell of anything vinegary. So that means anything pickled. Like people love pickles and they'll like drink the juice and smell the pickles and be like, wow, this evokes happiness for me because look at that crunch. And I'm like, get away from me. Please get away from me. I don't want to smell this pickle. I hate it when I hate it when it even touches my food because I can still smell it. And because I think I would say I have a stronger sense of smell. Not he can identify things. I have a strong sense, right? I can't identify anything that I smell, but I can smell it, and it's really strong.
Yep.
And so even if it's on my food, like if I order, let's say I order a burger or like a chicken sandwich, Chick-fil-A, love their sandwiches, Copinos. Even if they put the pickle on it, I'll know if they remove the pickle, not just from looking at it, but from I can like taste and smell the pickle, and so. It's little things like that just make me very sad because I'm so sensitive. It ruins it. I'll be walking around and I'll smell something, and I can't also, my facial expressions are too much. I can't hide my face. I'd be twisting my face and, and trying to be polite. But I would say I don't like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad because I'm too sensitive to it and I'm just bothered. So
Well,
I didn't answer your question, but
no, you
said a lot.
But you brought up a really interesting point, and that is, and PJ, you said this as well, that what we're talking about in a lot of this is very subjective, right? Whereas with our eyesight, we can look at something and say, okay, that's red, and there's some disagreement of whether that's an attractive color or not. Maybe you'll have different people say different things, but in large part, there's not going to be as much disagreement, I would say. With scents, we might both be able to say that's cilantro, for example, right? But there's going to be a vastly different experience per person to say whether that is a positive or negative thing. What it evokes, whether that's something that is a positive or a negative, that's going to be different per person. So when we're talking about these scents, when we're having this odyssey, what's fascinating is that it's a very intimate thing that we're talking about, right? Scents is an intimate thing. When we think about fragrances, so both of you have brought up fragrances in different, and when I say fragrances, I don't mean the general term, I mean like cologne and perfume, right?
Yeah.
PJ, you brought that up a lot. I'm sure that for you, there's probably a perfume or a cologne that is really great and once held great memories and great associations that has since changed because maybe it was from an old relationship or something like that, where you had something that was initially positive association. I have a great relationship with this person who smells like this. Oh, and then I broke up with them. Lots of pain involved, and now that smell reminds me of them and the pain that was caused me. And so now this scent that might be generally pleasant, it's designed to be. It's a perfume. It's marketed literally to be a positive scent association, but it's a negative one because of these other experiences that you've had.
That's a great point. It reminds me of music as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm very grateful I didn't have a lot of relationships before my wife because again I love music, right?
Yeah.
And you know you don't want to associate some great songs with certain people.
Right.
So, but
That's
same
100%.
thing with smell, as you mentioned. So.
Yeah.
It's funny, Kobe. The first thing that popped into my head when you were talking about how smell can be associated with something is Candy by Prada. I think it's the perfume where he loves the smell, but his sister, this is one of her signature perfumes.
Yes.
And so I remember one day I was like shopping and I was like, oh, this one's good. And he's like, which one? He smelled it and he's like, nope, this is my sister. I can't smell. Yeah, and I know because you like the scent. And so you're just like, I can't have this.
Understandable.
And you know what the real shame is? The real shame is that I got that for her because I liked it so much, and it was at the beginning of my journey of enjoying scents and being like, oh, this is a great thing. I want to share this with you.
On your Odyssey.
That's right. I wanted to invite her into the Odyssey, and I did so in a way that crippled a fantastic scent for the rest of my life. Sorry, Clary. Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that's probably a good place for us to pause for our first episode. We've had a pretty good introduction to where we're going. Yeah. I think that we would like to say that as we go forward, we are going to talk a little bit more about the science of how we smell, how this develops, and a little bit of how these associations can develop. We'd also like to explore, and you've heard a little bit anecdotally today about whether you can create them intentionally and even change them over time. I think that there's a lot to be said there. I'm not going to jump into that now. Plenty to explore. We also have the intention to have a few different series that we want to do. Sarah mentioned one that would be really exciting, the fragrance of culture, right, where we can go through the different cultural backgrounds and talk to people who come from them and say, well, what are the scents that are unique to your background? And there are a few other ideas that we have as well, but we're also very much open to feedback and interests that you may have as a listener and as a viewer. So please feel free to comment, write in, tell us what you'd like to talk about, what you'd like to hear about, and we'll do the best that we can to incorporate it into our conversations. Any parting words from Sarah or PJ?
Live your best scent life.
Live your best scent life. Love that.
I can't top that. You know, I'll leave you with that. I forgot what he said.
Live your best scent life.
Live your best scent life.
I love that.
There you go.
I love that.
I like that.
That's great. All right. Well, until next time, this has been Olfactory Odyssey. We're glad that you were able to climb aboard with us. We hope to see you again next time. And stay tuned, because there'll be some other extras, too, beyond this podcast. Follow us on our different streaming platforms. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok. We'll also have these podcasts available pretty much wherever you get podcasts. So Spotify, Apple Music, we're waiting for those to develop. But feel free to look out for us. Subscribe. We want to have subscribers so that you're updated on when we produce these. That'll be really helpful for us. And as you like and comment, that also gives us an idea of where to take this Odyssey, which direction we can go next. So please interact with us. We really want to hear from you. And we're excited to go on this journey together. Cool. We'll see you next time.